This is definitely the darkest character I've ever played. I had to go home and shower off the character every night.
Very exciting. It was my first lead role in a film. Hey guys, it's Kristen, and today we are at the New York City Horror Film Festival for the premiere of Do Not Reply, starring Amanda Arcuri, Jackson Rathbone, and more. Let's go check out the red carpet. So, can you tell us a little bit about Do Not Reply and what drew you to this project?
Well, Do Not Reply is a social media type thriller. Basically, it's a kind of a callback, throwback slasher film for the modern age. It's about a young introvert named Chelsea who gets abducted and thrown into the world of a serial killer named Brad, who I play. Uh-oh. Now, you guys co-wrote and co-directed and co-produced this film, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So, where did the inspiration for this story come from?
From Daniel. Well, from a long time ago. It was actually 20 years ago I came up with the original story when AOL chat rooms were a thing, and I thought, what would happen if there was a bad guy on the other side of that? So I wrote the script back then, but it was more taboo to meet somebody that you met through the internet. You're almost considered weird. Yeah. And now in this day and age, it's very common. There's dating apps, there's all the social media, and people meet through a variety of ways. They get married and everything. So when we were looking to make a film, we looked at that older product, and it was kind of dated, and so we looked to see, well, if it's something we want to tell now, is it relevant? And looking into the FBI website and with other law enforcement, they talked about how there's 50,000 predators online at any given moment, sexual predators, and also what was the other thing? Oh, that
an article just a week ago about San Diego. 8,000 people a year disappear into human trafficking in San Diego alone, and most of them contacted through social media. So it's a very big problem, and we wanted to send a message with this movie, and that's why the title is Do Not Reply.
Yeah. And one additional thing about that, it is a message film. It's wrapped up in a psychological thriller horror because that's what will probably get watched. But I think the message comes through, and that was our intent, is to have something that shows the dangers of it, but something that kids might watch, or parents with kids, because they're not going to go on the websites and look at the data.
I think it's just a really important story to tell in the age of social media, where people don't form actual human connections. It's all through the internet, to see like the negative side of it, because you always hear about those horror stories, but you don't really believe them.
When it comes down to this cast, how did that come together?
Well, go ahead.
We hired a really outstanding casting director, Harley Day, and we auditioned, gosh, I don't know how many people. We were doing shotgun auditions in December of 2017, ahead of the shoot, and we got really, really lucky, Amanda sent in a tape because she was from Toronto and hadn't even been in the United States. And she just blew everybody else away. She was so talented. Carrie, the same way, outstanding tape. Jackson came in person, and we just thought, wow, can we really get him? and we did, and he plays a really good button-down psychopath. It was a great, fun process, doing the auditions and selecting the actors, and I think we ended up with a fantastic cast, and the crew the same way. We had an excellent crew.
I had just booked a manager in LA, and he sent me my first self-tape that I need to do for LA, and I got a call back for Do Not Reply, and then one thing led to another. I had interviews on Skype with the directors Daniel and Walt, and that's about it. But it was very exciting. It was my first lead role in a film. So
that's so exciting!
Yeah.
Wow.
I was fortunate enough that both Walt and Daniel were fans of Heart of Dixie, which I played Annabeth.
Also a fan of Heart of Dixie.
Thank you. And so they they sent me the script, and I just thought it was an incredible social commentary on what's happening now and how careful we have to be with our online presence and trusting too much and maybe putting too much of ourselves out there. I participate in online dating, so I think it's very relevant and very poignant right now, and it can be scary. So I think this was a really well-rounded way to comment about the new dating atmosphere and what it's going to continue to look like, and how we can, make it as safe for our children as possible.
Can you tell us a little bit about who you play in this film?
I play Megan. I am a character that's already in the house before Chelsea gets to go in there, and I have Stockholm Syndrome, so I'm very in love with Brad.
Obviously, we all know you from Degrassi, and this is a very different role. So how do you prepare for like a horror movie?
Well, with this character, you know, she is introverted, she's shy, she doesn't feel like she's good enough for, I guess, teenage life and boys. So I kind of just had to like tap into my insecurities a bit. I am a shy person as well, but to an extent. And I think just even the atmosphere on set and with Jackson, he did a really good job portraying Brad. And it felt easy to play against him. You know, he gave me a lot to work with.
Yeah, when you have like a great counterpart,
Yeah.
it just makes it
Easier, and it's fun, and we worked together, and we would bounce ideas off each other.
What was it like portraying this character? Have you done many horror movies, or is this kind of like, you know, one of the darker characters you've played?
I haven't done a lot of horror films, and and this film is probably my second or third. This is definitely the darkest character I've ever played. I had to go home and shower off the character every night, so it was a bit of a grody guy. But I have a wonderful crew, amazing actresses, and we had one of the best stunt women in the business being our coordinator and making sure that we were all safe. And we made sure to check in with one another at all times to make sure that we're making a movie, we're not making a documentary. It's about being comfortable, it's about making a performance and not, falling into method bullshit.
Can you share a little bit about what it was like working with Jackson in this movie?
Oh, it was amazing. I watched Twilight before, and when he walked into the room, I literally was like, oh, it's Jasper. And then after a while, like I just kind of, he's a human too, right? And he's very kind and very sweet, and he made me feel very comfortable. And he gave me a lot of tips.
Oh, any tips you can share?
Don't do your own stunts.
You're currently starring in a Netflix show, Alexa and Katie, and that's pretty different than this.
different.
So can you talk a little bit about that difference and like what it's like being in a horror movie?
Okay, so this was my first horror film, and it was very intense, I have to say. Like, going into the project, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, because my Netflix show is very lighthearted, and it's very, like, comedy-driven. And I did a lot of playlists, and I built playlists for this character so I could deep dive into who she was.
Oh, any songs you can share?
I have, what was that song? It was called Always Forever, but I'm trying to figure out who the artist was, but that was my main one because it was about being so in love with someone that it wasn't always forever, so it mentally prepared me to be very in love.
What is it like to be in a horror movie? Like, what kind of, work do you have to do to get into that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, in my first horror movie, not to spoil anything, Holidays is on Netflix, but I die, and like filming scenes like that, you have to be so in the moment and so present that it's like the greatest acting class of your life.
So I play Victoria, which is Brad's mom, and if you blink, you might miss me. But it was great. It was great, but it was awful because it's you're kind of learning the nature versus nurture situation, like what affected Brad. Would he have turned out maybe a little bit differently had there been more love and affection in his life from his mother, and the little kid that I got to play opposite with, it just like broke my heart every time we did the scene, because we would cut and I'd be like, I'm just playing. Yeah. He's like, I'm fine. I was like, okay, all right. He's like, I know. He's like, it's cool, lady. So it was great, and I got to be a bitch, which is not something that I often play. So
Sometimes it's fun to play, opposite type.
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard that you guys have over 40% women working on this film, which is amazing. So what kind of inspired that?
I think with the subject matter, we had teen girls that are getting abducted, and we're not gratuitous with any of the violence. There is an inference of sexual assault in there, but we don't show it. That was very important to us. But because we have teenage girls, or there's actors playing teenage girls, and the subject matter, we thought it would be best if we had as many women on set as possible so that they feel comfortable and also show that women are supporting this idea of putting this message out. And so we tried, in very high positions, from executive producer, female, female. Our editor, the colorist, our 2 line producers were female. Our AD department was half female, and so we just wanted to have everybody involved in our department, have as many as females involved, because we felt that it was important for the subject matter to do that.
It's so amazing to have so many talented women in the same room. I remember I would like look around and just say like, oh my God, there's like so many people here that are just amazing at their craft.
Now, in this film, you know, I know your character has Stockholm Syndrome, but you guys also are kind of like this group of women that are like trying to survive. So what was that like, kind of portraying, you know, this kind of little group of people supporting each other in this film?
I think it's very important because at the very end it's the relationship and actually believing in another woman that this was all a dream and it wasn't real, and I think there's an honest truth to it, and I love Amanda. And so being able to play with her was such a dream, and I love our scenes together because it's really nice.
First of all, it's very important as women to stick together, always. It's a time right now where we have to stand up for each other and we have to unite, and I feel like this is perfect for what we're all going through right now.
This film, you're playing a serial killer that's very into technology, you know, online dating, VR. What is kind of your thought on how that's kind of taking over our world today?
Well, I mean, with technology, there's always a blessing and a curse. You know, it's I think for the last 10 years or so, we've been in the age of information, and we're about to enter into the age of understanding and what that information and what it means to have that information out all the time. I think now we're finally coming to grips with the fact that we are losing and or have lost our privacy, how to manage that, how to navigate the world. I think the young people, the people who are growing up with it, my children, for instance, they're going to have a different world, and they're going to see a different world than one that we have now. Vastly different in lots of ways, but especially in regards with social interactivity. I think virtual reality might not be the big thing that we all think it's going to be, but I think augmented reality is going to change the way we live, just like the iPhone did.
Very insightful, very insightful.
I read a lot.
If you like this one, you can check out more of my interviews right over here, and I'll catch you in my next video. See ya!